Good morning. I'm going to tell you a few more of my thoughts about the story of Cain and Abel. I love this story. I cannot stop talking about it. And if you are listening to this fourth or fifth commentary on this story, then what I'm guessing is you probably can't stop listening about it. And I hope that you take these ideas as your own, because just by learning this one story, which if you really do it well, I mean if you really give the time, it's only going to take you like an hour to do. You can actually take this out and explain, that you can tell the story and you can just talk about this stuff with people. And it's really, really amazing. But I already talked a little bit about the story with Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel and all the things that happened. We talked about what is the meaning of that sacrifice, and we talked about anger and what about Cain's anger. And I want to go back to that idea a little bit. I don't know if we really learned everything we could learn about anger. This is the first time in the Bible that we ever see anger. And I think anger is so common to our lives. And not only anger, but bitterness. That it's so common that we don't even recognize it in our own lives. And so I think this story can help kind of disclose that a little bit. Because God asked that amazing question, why are you angry? I think when our friends get angry, or even ourselves, we tend to be, we're either like, stop it, would you just like get a grip of yourselves, just like, or, we will just escape and we'll run off and say, we're just going to wait for this to cool down and then we'll go back. God actually engages Cain in his anger. And I find that interesting. I think another interesting thing, though, is what about Cain's parents? They're really absent from this story. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We know that they were there because, how do we know that? You may remember at the very end of chapter 4, Adam and Eve have this other baby, and they say, well, it's our compensation for the one that we lost because Cain killed him. So they were there. They knew what was going on. They heard, But I think it's really interesting to see the comparison between Eve's response when she first had Cain and her response when she has Seth. Do you even see a hint of bitterness there? I mean, one of the things she could have done is, I don't know, I think the chronology of these things is a little bit twisted in order that we could actually get good lessons out of it. Because I don't know if Cain has already built his city and already done his thing about naming his city Enoch and all that. And I don't even know if all the stuff about Ada and Lena or the two wives and all that stuff. But I do know that the Bible, and this is where it gets a little weird, but the Bible starts talking about how people lived like 1,000 years long. And so it's possible that Cain may have already built his city when Seth is born. I don't know. But the thing is, Adam and Eve had this baby named Cain, and they named it Cain because God had given them a gift. And she said, God has helped me have this baby. And so she names it Cain. And at the end of the story, she has another baby named Seth. And she says, God has given me this as a gift. So Eve could have gotten bitter and said, I'm so mad. One of my kids built this huge city and everyone forgot God, and so now I'm going to build a city too, and I'm going to name this city, Seth, or I think that she gives God credit again, and that shows that Eve was a righteous lady who had she kept her eyes on God. I think that it's also kind of interesting that the grandsons of Adam and Eve had very similar names. On Cain's side, the grandson was Enoch, and on Seth's side, the grandson is Enosh. And so I think we could take these two boys and we could also compare them. So I don't know if you want to take a minute and stop this and think about that, but Enoch was a boy who had a whole city named after him. Do you think Enoch gave much thought to God? I mean, this kid has it all. He's got a whole city, and I'm sure that if his city's named after him, then he is already some kind of patriarch. He's probably like this boy king, right? That is just grown into this king, that he's so arrogant, the whole city is named after him. And everyone says, I'm from Enoch. I'm from that city, And here, by contrast, we've got this boy named Enosh, and we don't know a thing about him, There's just absolutely no detail about him. It's just that, oh, by the way, he also had a son named Enosh. So, but we do learn one thing about the time that he lived in. Because at his time, there is an actual revival. Because we had this little period of time where God is forgotten. And we saw that quite well with Lamech. Because Lamech is like, if Cain's avenged 7 times, whatever that means, I'm avenged 77. But Cain's vengeance was something that God was going to do. My vengeance is something that I do all by myself. Somebody hurt me, I killed him. Ha ha ha. A little boy, hit me. I just whacked him, I killed him. Ha ha ha. There's a little bit of a... this guy has this kind of standard operating procedure here where, you touch my stuff, I'm just going to whack you. I'm just going to slam you down, I'm just going to kill you. He takes care of this vengeance thing all by himself. And I'm sure that this all kind of came from his great-great-great-grandfather Enoch. Well, Enosh is a little bit different. In his age, we don't have a lot of details about music and beauty and culture and all that stuff, but we do know one thing, that in the days of Enosh, people actually remembered God. They called on God. So, whereas Lamech, takes things into his own hands, no matter what the problem is, people in Enosh's day actually call out and ask God for help. And that's pretty remarkable. And I think that goes back to the fact that probably Adam and Eve learned something here. And in the whole Cain and Abel thing, I don't know that they taught them very well. Abel maybe, but in this case, it sounds like Adam and Eve took the lesson that they had learned in Cain and Abel's violence and how it spun out of control, and they said, this time we're going to do it right. Not only our son, but also our grandson. We're going to teach him to call on the Lord. And I think that there's a lesson in this for us as well. Thanks. This has been Story Streamer. See you next time.